Okay, excuse me. Hello once again. Thank you guys for coming, whether it's for the first time or you're coming back for the third time. Actually, so this is our third video that we've done, and my name is Paul, and I'm here with Freight Connect, FR8 Connect. And basically, what we do is we work with those in the transportation industry to help them be able to do business better, to do more business. And, those that are in the transportation industry would include drivers, carriers, brokers, dispatchers, shippers. So we're here to help in regards to demystifying some things and just to help to put things in front of you that are going to help you to grow, to help you develop, help you to get where you're trying to get to. There's so many things that you can do in this industry, right? And it can be daunting, when you really think about it. But it's, again, no pun included. But when you stay in your lane, there are many things that you can achieve by that. Whether you're a carrier or in that lane, whether you're a carrier, a broker, a dispatcher, but at the same time, you want to continually learn, right? Learn some things and that are going to help you to advance. I mean, there's so many things that I don't know, and I'm going to be learning as we do these videos, right? But I want to share them with you as we go along, and anything that I, may already know. And it's always good to review. It's always good to review some old material that can help you in that next phase of your progress. So there may be other things that you want to get into within this industry. There's just so many different things that you can do in this industry, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to be around for a long time. So what I want to do, I made some notes, and I'm going to try to work to stay on track with them. There's a lot of material, but we're going to get through as much of it as I can. All right, because I want to do this within 30 to 45 minutes. All right, so just to recap, last week, with this being the third video, actually, we talked about mindset. Mindset was the very first thing that we talked about, and then we went into comfort zone. And the two of those do go together, and it also segues into what we'll be talking about today. But in regards to mindset, anything that you do, excuse me, personally, professionally, mindset it plays a vital role, right? I mean, if you're serious about achieving anything, you have to have the right mindset, okay? And that's going to help you determine how you go about, how you approach a situation, right? So you just have to have the right. I'm not going to get into it all. You can go back and look at the video or the material that we've sent out. If you'd like the material that we sent out, let me know. You can reach out to me at phone number 866-342-0040, extension 109, or you can email me at see, we'll go with, let's do support, because everything will be centralized there. So support at fr8connect.com. So just let me know if you're interested in any of that material. You can go to our blog. Let's see, that'll be at elevatefr8.com. And then blog, and then you can see all the material right there. So the first two, or the two that will appear, the first two that will appear will be on mindset and then also comfort zone. Once you do go to the website, I think it says something like loader, cancel loader, preloader, I think. Just click that and it'll take you right to the next page that you're trying to get to. Okay, so those two items, topics is what we talked about, mindset and comfort zone. All right, so getting out of your comfort zone will definitely advance you to wherever you're trying to go. But mindset and comfort zone, so check those out. Where I want to go today is in regards to the sales process. Once you have that mindset in check, you're able to get outside of your comfort zone. And we're talking about you being a carrier or even a broker. How do I get customers? Because you can have any business. Doesn't matter what that business is. You need customers, right? I mean, if you have a product that you can offer, a service, whatever it is, you need clients, right? You need clients. And the question is, how do I go about getting these clients? Well, there's probably many, many ways of doing it, but we're going to focus in on, say, you being a carrier looking to find shippers, okay? And when we talk about it, the way we talk about it, we break it down. We don't just say, you have to get a list and you got to make a phone call and, you got to do this, got to do that in the sense that it's not detailed. But we get really, really detailed about it because we call it the art of sales. That's what I call it, the art of sales. And when you are able to take note and actually work on these things, right? Get the right mindset, get out your comfort zone and work on it. You can find success, and not just success in regards to sales, but some of these, these strategies, these tactics, you can use in various platforms. But when we talk about sales, what I want to do, and this is a part of mindset, I want you to think of this in regards to sales. Every day you're selling. Every day you're selling. I mean, if you're a carrier, let's say you're an owner, right? You're owner operator, or you own a company, and you have to have a staff, right? You have to have relationships, okay? You have to have these business relationships, whether it's in regards to financing, whether it's in regards to trucks, working with dealerships, working with other vendors, and getting shippers, right? You are selling all the time, whether you know it or not. I mean, when you're looking to build your staff, you're recruiting. There's a sales process involved with that. All right. Of course, when you're trying to get business, whether you're talking to a broker, talking to a shipper direct, sales is involved. And then to bring it home even more, sales is involved in many things that we do outside of our professional life, right? So if you think about it, if you have kids, your kids are selling to you all the time, right? The things that they want, the things that they need, they are expressing to you all the time what they want, what they need, and it's sales. They have to sell you on that. Why do you need that? Why should I buy you that? Why should I allow you to do this or do that? Why should I allow you to go to that party, right? At the same time, we're also selling to our kids. And it can be to clean their room, to eat vegetables, to eat their vegetables. It could be to do their chores. Just so many different things we are selling all the time. When we go on family vacations, we're trying to figure out where we're going to go, right? Everybody's putting their input in, but everybody's selling each other, right? We may come to the table with information, statistics, and things like that, but the idea is that it is a form of sales. And that is no different than when we are talking to people in the office, whether we are recruiting or whether we are looking for shippers, right? We are bringing information to them, not to convince them of something they don't want to do, We are identifying needs and we're presenting based upon those needs, okay? But sales is involved in that way. So if I'm looking at it from a family perspective, my personal life, we have no shame at that point, right? There's no shame in our game when we are communicating with family. We could say it's because we know them, and I get that. That makes sense. But at the same time, the people that we are talking to on the phone, professionally, at work, they're just people too. And that's a part of the mindset that we have to understand that we have to work on, is that the people that we're talking to on the phone, they are people too. They are no different than you in that they are working to make a living. They wake up just like anyone else, right? They wake up just like you and I in the sense that they have to get sleep, they have to wake up, they have to get dressed, they have to get to the office, they have things that they have to accomplish throughout the day, they have to meet a certain level in terms of productivity, they have to deal with maybe customers, maybe not, you know, but these are the things that they have to do then to make money, and then so that they can go and spend this money on themselves, on their family, on their kids, buy those things that the kids have convinced them to buy. This happens all day long. All right. Everyone is dealing with that. So when you call someone, they're no different than you. We're all just people, right? The one thing that I learned throughout the world is, in my limited travel, is that everyone is the same. Everyone is the same in the sense that, we're trying to, we're we want to, we want our families to have a decent life, right? We want to be able to provide. So in that is something that we all have in common, and when you see someone, you don't even have to know their language. You might see someone crying, you have an idea as to what might be going on there, whether they're tears of joy or maybe of some type of tragedy. You see someone yawning, you see someone sleeping, you see someone energized, see someone that's happy. We have an idea as to what's going on. It doesn't matter the language, right? These are things that are very common amongst us all. All right. So with that, we're all human. Okay. So when we are communicating with someone that we've met for the first time, if we can understand that, we have to understand that we have more in common than we don't. And when we're talking about transportation, transportation is very common. Some people don't even really think about it. Before the pandemic, no one thought about, I'm not going to say no one, but most people did not think about transportation, did not think about logistics, did not understand how vitally important it was, did not understand how the world was connected. Today, people are a lot smarter because of that. I mean, we all got a big education because of that. But it always existed, and it still exists today. So all these things that I'm mentioning now, they all come together when we're talking about sales, when we're talking about communicating with people, when we're talking about relationships. Okay? And that's a, a big part of sales. It's building relationships, developing relationships. People like to work with people they know or people they like, right? But we've got to start somewhere in building the relationships. Okay? And when you're able to do that, opportunities become, there's a higher likelihood that you will gain off of that opportunity. So we have to be able to understand again that people are people, and all we're doing is building relationships. I mean, you think about it when you go out, there are people everywhere, right? And I think it was in getting outside of your comfort zone. If it's hard for you to communicate with people or address people, I say just do it, right? Just look at someone, smile, say hi, how are you? You know, we all have so many things in common. You could talk about the weather. Everyone is in that circle or wherever you're at in the store. Everyone's going to have to deal with the weather, whether it's good weather, bad weather, whatever it is. You can mention about the weather, but you want to communicate about things that are in common just to give yourself practice. Compliment them on their outfit or whatever it might be, but just find something that is in common. Maybe there's part of their outfit that you recognize because someone else you knew or know wore the same thing, or had something on similar, or whatever it might be. A hat, whatever. The hat might say something, that's familiar to you. Maybe it's a sports team or whatever it is, but the idea is that one, we're all people. We all have we have many things in common. And three, we want to just get outside of our comfort zone. And once we're able to get out of the comfort zone, We don't see the things that we used to see, the things that used to blind us, right? Things that we didn't see. When we're able to get outside of our comfort zone and understand that we're just people, we start to see things in a different way. We start to see that we're common, that there are a lot of things we have in common. And then beyond that, we are able to, as time goes on, be able to communicate with people in a much easier and better way. And so being able to grab that mindset and get outside the comfort zone, it will allow us to do that. So when picking up a phone, it doesn't become so intimidating, especially when we're talking about a cold call, right? If you're able to do that in person and communicate with people, you can do that on the phone, right? No, they can't see you, and it's totally different. And these are the things that I want to talk about is when I get on the phone, how do I translate that so then that how can I translate that so that someone can, so that I can have that same experience? And what we're talking about is for them to reciprocate, right? To be able to say hi back and engage in a conversation. How do I do that? Okay, well, that was a very long introduction, but we're talking about what I call again the OIPC sales process, which stands for opening, for O, interview, presentation, P, close, C. So OIPC, open, interview, presentation, close. And in between each one of them, you segue into that next segment. So you got your opening, your interview, your presentation, your close, and and you have a segue that takes you through to the next stage. But that is pretty much the sales process that I use and have used for multiple years and that I train on. Okay. But today, what I want to focus in on is just the opening, right? We can get real deep on the opening. We can get real deep on each one of these parts, but we're just going to focus in on the opening. So I'm going to try to go through this quickly, but not rush. Okay, so with the open, interview, presentation, close, there's a time limit that you're going to spend in each one of these sections when you are communicating with someone. And the close is the smallest time that you'll spend. The interview is going to be the greatest amount of time that you'll spend in communicating or talking with this prospect. And then the presentation will be second, and third would be opening. So it'll be a lot of time on the interview, presentation then, and then the opening, and then the close, okay? Now, as far as the opening goes, it's exactly what it says. It's the opening of the sales process, which encompasses the greeting, introducing yourself. So why is that important? Well, this is where you are able to make a first impression throughout the sales process. And when I say that, the sales process is not just you making a phone call and then when you hang up, you're done. Because it doesn't mean that you even got the business, right? At that point, you may have follow-up, but even beyond that, you still have to go through the process of actually presenting or doing whatever it is that you said you can do for them, right? If it's a service, if it's a product, or whatever, you have to come through, right? And so they're watching you through that entire process. And when I say they're watching you through that entire process, it's like an interview from the moment you say hello. It's like an interview process all the way to the end because you want to get repeat business, right? So you are always on your toes so that you can get to the next stage or the next phase. And then so you can come back and do it all over again and do it better, right? And you want to retain that business, get more business, and get other business. But let's stay on the opening. So this here is your first impression. But throughout all those other parts that I said, there is a first impression that exists. I mean, even when the load gets picked up, there's a first impression. Delivered, right? Billing, if there's an issue, a challenge along the way, which is a good thing if there is a challenge. And I say that only in the sense of this, not that you're trying to make issues or challenges come about, but it gives you an opportunity to show them how you operate when there are issues. That is like a key thing that helps to really develop a relationship. Okay. So as far as that goes, we want to, let's go back to the opening. I'm sorry. So at the opening, when we're talking about a cold call and the first impression, there are people who will, oh, I'm sorry about that. There are people who will call you or that you will call and they will, I'm sorry, that just threw me all off, but I'm back on track. All of these people are deciding to reach out to me now. Okay. But at any rate, this is a time period where um, in your opening, sorry about that, in your opening, where someone will answer the phone and they don't know you, right? Whether you got their name off a list or whether somebody referred you to give these people a call, they don't know you. All right, we're talking about mindset here, right? So let's go ahead and get in our mind. I mean, I think that that's something that we're already thinking about that terrifies us, right? But let's go ahead and address the elephants in the room. No, they don't know us. That's okay. Remember, you have something to offer that's of value, if there's a need, and that and that this is how business is done. People work to develop relationships, right? So you want to make that call and they're going to say hello. Somebody's going to say hello on the other end. All right. Where do I go from there? All right. The way I always look at it, there's two ways that you can do it. You can tell them your name and tell them exactly who you're looking for. Maybe there's not a name, but you can give them a title. All right. And they might ask you, okay, can I ask you what the call is regarding? Be open, honest. I know back in my day, we would try to give them a slick story so that we could get to the decision maker. And I found that to be very challenging because all they would do is ask me more questions, right? And it just was awkward. And I was like, why am I doing this? I'm going to make another call and I'm going to continually try to be slick. Why don't I just be honest? Because at some point when I get to the decision maker, we're going to have an honest conversation, right? So I'm just going to be honest right up front, right? And there are three things that I tell them, and it's just the truth. One of them is who I am. The other is who I am with. This is Paul. I'm with Freight Connect. And the third is the reason for my call. All right. Tell them that right off the bat. All right. I mean, that can vary in terms of what you say, but those are the three essential things that you want to present to them. And most of the time they'll tell you, the person's busy, not available, not interested. Hold on a second. Let me get them. Okay. Now, there is a way to get around that. And what I'm going to say to you, which I found to be very helpful, is not 100% that it'll work, but it definitely works more times than not. But if you're interested, again, you can email me, give me a call, and we can talk about it, right? But at any rate, those are the three things that you want to be able to present when you're making the call. Now, that might not be the decision maker. So they're going to bring the decision maker on the phone, get them on the phone, and you're going to say the exact same thing. You're going to tell them right off the bat, hi, my name is Paul, and I'm with FR8 Connect, Freight Connect. Not sure if you've heard of us, but the reason for my call, and I love that little piece right there, the reason for my call. Now, let's stop right there. Here's something additional that you need to think about. Again, elephant in the room. They don't know you, and you don't have a lot of time. And when I say you don't have a lot of time, you've got, I would say, maybe 30 seconds to get their ear, to capture their attention. And when I say that, to capture their attention, The only competition that you have at that moment, really, it's not everyone else that's been calling them, and trying to get their business. The competition that you have at that point is everything else that they have to do, everything that is on their list. They've got so many things that they're doing. Maybe they have nothing to do. I don't know. Maybe one of the things they have to do is nothing, right? But what you're wanting to do is that's your competition. Their focus was over here before you called. They were not expecting your call. They have no need for you. Let's say that right now. Let's say, as far as their freight goes, it's already moving. It's already moving. It's on a truck. They know who to contact. They have people that will help them move their freight. All right. So why are we calling? We're a business. That's what we do. You know, um, back in the day, I remember there were, and I used to work for one of them, Sprint, the telecommunication companies. They would call for long distance service, right? To earn your business. I called businesses, but the thing is that there were three main ones. There was MCI, AT&T, Sprint, and I'm calling all these businesses to get their business. Now, Sprint has a portion of the country's a business, right? AT&T does, and so does MCI. But each one is trying to gain more market share. What ends up happening is they might gain customers, but they also lose customers. So they're going to try to get them back, whether it's in a year or two, because they may sign contracts, but they're going to try to get that business back. All right. So really the business the customers just cycle through. I'm going to go to AT&T, MCI, Sprint. But the idea is to try and get as much market share as you can, right? So when you're calling out to these businesses, anything can happen to the point where they have a need to go to another company. Maybe they're growing, maybe they're expanding, maybe they're contracting, maybe they're moving, maybe they have a new account, maybe they're upset with whoever they're working with, maybe they didn't know that there were other options. Who knows? But they are moving their freight, right? New technology comes out, things they don't know about, right? But it's our job to reach out to them because we have something to offer, something of value. Okay. So when we're reaching out to them, again, I said you only have 30 seconds or less. At least that's the way I have it framed in my mind, because I believe that within that 30 seconds, you can capture their ear, divert all their attention from wherever it was before and bring it to you to keep them on the phone and focus on what you have to talk about. You're not going to be doing all the talking, right? You're going to be doing that's when you get into the interview phase, but you're going to be doing the listening. We're still in the opening that we're talking about. Okay, this is taking a second for me to get through it, but here we go. Um, so when we are, again, these are just people, okay? You tell them who you are, um, who you're calling with, why you're calling, the reason for your call, okay? And from there, and we can talk about this at another point in time, but you want to be able to identify um, in why you are calling something that is compelling, right? It could be about tariffs. I mean, it doesn't have to be a long speech. It's within a sentence. The reason I'm calling is, there've been a lot of changes happening with the new administration, and there could be opportunities that do exist, but some challenges for now could be due to tariffs, you know, could be due to some global geopolitical relationships, could be due to regulation, things like that. You want to educate yourself on some things that are going on out in the world that can impact our industry. And so when you are making this call, these are things that they've heard of. They've heard about tariffs, they've heard about the administration, they've heard about weather, the weather, all this bad weather, winter weather that we've had. It's slowed things down, right? So these are little points that you can bring up that will help capture their ear. Again, we have so many things in common. These are things that they deal with too, okay? When they deal with them, they have conversations at work about it. You know, you can see this person's in Wisconsin, this person's in Alabama. You can, when these weather, these weather events came through, they just swooped through the country. It's just amazing this year, especially. You know, if it impacted Minnesota, or you can ask them, how did that impact your business? We have things in common. Hey, how have tariffs impacted your business? Or what have you guys been talking about when it comes to tariffs? Tell them what you know about tariffs. Now, this here is not in this part of the conversation that we're going to be talking about that, right? This will be in the interview part of it. But the point is that we have things in common, right? And these are things that you'll be able to talk about on the call to keep this call going, to allow them to talk. But right now, you've introduced yourself and you've told them why you're calling. We're in the area often. And we wanted to check in and, see how you guys are moving freight. How you guys work with carriers. How do you connect with carriers when you have a need to move freight? And especially here in the first quarter with some of these changes that have been going on, especially due to the new administration, we wanted to reach out to find out how you guys are handling that. We know there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Businesses are not making big decisions right now. A lot of businesses aren't trying to wait to see what happens. But I just wanted to give you guys a call and see what's going on with you guys now, what your plans are in the near future. Maybe we could help, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but I'd love to at least hear where you guys are at. I said a lot of things there. You don't have to say all those things, but this is ideally, or this is gives you an idea of how this part of the conversation can go. Because what we're doing is we're trying to move them from whatever wherever their attention is. We want to bring it to this call. Because then at that point, this is compelling to them. These things that you brought up and what you're saying. Because why? No one else is doing it. No one else is saying these things. No one else is. Now, I'm gonna hop back real quick. I want to go backwards real quick. I want to go to the greeter, the person that answers the phone. Okay. A lot of times they can be called the gatekeeper. Okay. A lot of people think that the gatekeeper, they're just there to answer the phone, just to keep you from getting to whoever you're trying to get to. Okay, if that is the case, that's part of their job and that's okay. But I want them as an ally. If I want to work with this company, I want the gatekeeper and everybody in that company to be on my side. I want them to help me out, right? So I can help them out. So I'm not going to address the gatekeeper in any bad way. A lot of people used to tell me, or I knew of people when they would address the gatekeeper, they would just dismiss them. Maybe even talk to them in a bad way just to get, to the decision maker. And I never believed in that because it's like they're just doing their job. Again, we have things in common. Maybe I have a different job, title or function or whatever, but we're all people, right? And she's just doing her job, or he's just doing his job. Okay. So how do I address them? Same thing. If they're asking me why am I calling, I can tell them exactly what I was saying, what I would say to the decision maker. Well, the reason why I'm calling is, there's been a lot of changes that have happened in the economy. Inflation is possibly on the rise, and this and that and what have you. And we're in the area often. We just want to reach out to communicate with whoever it is, the decision maker, and have that conversation. Because there's going to be some changes coming up, and we just wanted to discuss that, and possibly we could support you guys in hauling freight. And at that point, what they say is, this is the way a lot of them will take that, is that, well, maybe this is a call they need to take. Next thing you know, they're passing you on, or they're trying to help you out. Here's a better time to call back, you see. Now, not everyone might have to go that far in terms of getting through. For me, throughout my career, I've had to dissect every part of the call in order to be successful, right? That's me. There's some people sitting next to me. They didn't have to do that, but I did. So I'm just giving you these tips, these strategies and what have you that I learned along the way and that really helped me and that what I do to train, this information that I use to train my people. But at any rate, so now we have captured their ear. All this that I said should only take, I don't know, what, 10, 15 seconds? It shouldn't take that long, right? We don't have to drag that out. But what has happened is I've taken their attention and I moved it to me. Oh, okay. So I wanted to hear from you. You know, how do you guys move freight? What's important to you guys when you're moving freight? What are some of the challenges that you guys are running into? Or, what? There's so many different things, different ways that we can go about it. What has been allowed you guys to be successful? You might say, "Oh, we don't have any needs. Everything's going great." Great, good. What has allowed you guys to be successful? At that. What has made that your world perfect? Or what is it that is missing that could make your world perfect when it comes to transportation needs? You know, what do you look for in a carrier, in a provider, broker, or whatever? You know, we only use brokers. Oh, really? Okay. Could you explain to me why that is? Any objection they come up with, you can ask for them to explain it. Oh, okay. I hear you. What was the reason for that? Did something happen in the past? Did you guys have a bad experience that caused you guys to not want to work with Carriers Direct or whatever it is? No, 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 no. We just don't have any. We're totally vendor routed. Oh, okay. So the vendor arranges the freight and brings. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. How about on your outbound freight? You know. Now, what I've just said all the way up to this point, one will not get it on the first try. You got to work on your mindset, get out your comfort zone, continually do that every time you're making calls, right? And then all this stuff that I just mentioned, you want to continually do this over and over and over and over again. For me, sports, that's how I relate a lot of things in terms of being able to understand and say, all right, here I go. I'm going to do what Michael Jordan does, right? They say sales is a contact sport, right? And basically, they're talking about making contacts, reaching out. How many people have you reached out to? How many contacts have you made? You have to do it over and over and over again. You have to repeat, 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 repeat. You'll eventually get to someone that has a need, because that's what we're looking to do is identify the needs. But prior to that, we have to be thinking about making multiple contacts. And in my mind, it's all about practicing. Okay? Every call you make is a practice call. Every call you make is a practice call. Okay? You practice, practice, practice. All right? Always practicing. And I've been doing this since 92 professionally, 1992. And every call that I make today is a practice call. There is not a call that I am not practicing on. I may practice based upon, in trying to, I can make a sound, see how they respond, or make a joke and see how they respond. I can ask a question because I want them to agree with me and see how that works. I have a customer and he doesn't give me much in terms of response, but I continually work to understand him, right? I'm always practicing, trying to get better, trying to keep up with things that change, how people respond and things like that. But you're always practicing. So if you have that mentality that you're always practicing, and you get wins, it's great. But it helps you to go on. It helps me to continue to go on, not just sitting here and like, I got 3 more hours. I got 2 more hours. I've got whatever more hours. I'm practicing. I'm always practicing. And by doing that, it really solidifies or it really tells me that I'm on the right track based upon the response that I get. But then if I need to change it, then that's what I'll work on. I'll work on changing whatever it is I'm doing. I don't care if I've been doing it for however long, since 92. That doesn't matter, right? I've got to be open to that change. I always want to, and I also want to be able to be about training, right? I want to be about learning. I want to learn what's out there. When I say out there, I'm talking about current events or whatever it is, because it is relevant. It helps. It part of it is it will totally impact my industry, knowing what's going on out there, regulations and things like that. And I can be the expert for my clients. And then also just in regards to like current events, just knowing what's going on, to be able to have conversations, to be able to build rapport, right? So I can talk about events that are going on. I'm talking about, I don't know, like festivals, right? Or, things that are going on that, let's say it's the 4th of July, and be able to talk about that, or things that have happened. I would talk about dogs, maybe I find out they're a dog lover. Maybe I like dogs too. We can have that conversation, finding things that are we have in common. Okay. And that builds relationships. And what we're talking about is not just for the moment, but we're talking about real relationships, lasting relationships, so that I can move freight for them in the future. And then let's say they move and go somewhere else, they think of me and I can help them at that new position, or when they move up within the company. Maybe they recommend to the new person, to work with me, right? So we're talking about building relationships that matter. All right. Um, okay. One thing I do want to touch bases on is that's as far as I'm going to go in regards to the process. All right. There's the opening, interview, presentation, close, and we just talked about the opening, and we can tie all that together. But these are a lot. I mean, these are things that will make a difference in regards to your opening. And what we're talking about is, how do I, from saying hello, how do I get to the point of actually getting the decision maker and actually having a conversation, being able to take their attention from whatever they're doing, and then it's all on me, right? And then there's another part that we go into. We segue into the interview. All right. And we can address that in a whole different format. But one of the things I will say is this. There's something I developed is called the check call, CHECK call. And this involves the entire sales process. When you've made a call, at the end, if you're able to say, I've checked off each one of these, the C, the H, the E, the C, the K, then you can say you had a pretty successful call. And what these stand for is this. If there was confidence, if you had confidence, the C, if you had confidence in your call, check it off. All right. That's going to have to do with mindset. And that's also going to have to do with, hold on, I'm sorry. Right. That's going to have to do with mindset. And that's going to have to do with also comfort zone, getting outside your comfort zone. All right. The other is with the H and the E, they go together. It's high energy. Now, I like to say good energy, right? But the H and the E, the H worked. So we'll go with high energy. Um, what does that mean? That means when you're on the phone, you don't want to be acting as if you're tired, or if you're asleep, or if you have no interest, or be monotone. You need to have good energy, right? They can feel it through the phone. They can feel that smile. Smile. Put a mirror up in front of you so that you can see yourself and see, am I smiling, right? It makes a difference. It really does. So you want to have that good energy, high energy. All right. Um, hmm. Okay, and then also you want to have control over the call. And what that means is, that doesn't mean that you are telling them what to do, right? That doesn't mean that you're giving them approval. In a sense, it does, but actually, what I'm talking about is you're able to direct this call. So as the call goes along, you don't want it to go off into an area where you're where that it should not go, and then all of a sudden you're talking about things you should not be talking about, right? You want to keep it confined. I mean, you can still divert, right? They can take you here. You want to know, you want to hear, you want to understand them, you want to learn what's going on at the business because they are your best customer. I mean, not customer, but teacher. They're going to teach you. They're going to teach you about how they move freight. They're going to teach you about their business. They're going to teach you about a lot of things when you ask the right questions. But again, you have to divert this thing back to the center, but allow it to maneuver. But ultimately, here's where we want to be within this call, by the end of this call. So if you are able to control that pathway, check it off. And then the last thing is knowledge. And this is about, did you gain knowledge? And were you also able to provide knowledge? You are the expert, or will become the expert, right, at this position. But you always want to be learning, whether it's while you're on the phone with that customer or once you get off the phone with them, or in your free time, that you are just learning about the industry and about other things. That makes you insightful, valuable, be able to have conversations, and they can appreciate that the person on the other end of the phone. So work to always learn, gain knowledge, you know. Don't be afraid to look at technology. Don't be afraid, to learn about technology. Don't be afraid to learn about, just other things, things that may not be familiar to you. Um, just learn, right? And when you learn, your conversations can be different. Okay? So we have confidence, high energy, control, and knowledge. Check. That's your check call. Check all those off. You probably had a really good call because you can come away with it and say, analyze it and be like, okay, I know where to go with this next. All right. So that's all that I'm going to talk about in regards to our call, making a phone call. And the last thing that I wanted to communicate on was real simple. I'm going to keep this one real quick because this information can change all every day, And what we're talking about here is the economy. Um, we should always have an idea as to what's going on, in the economy. And there's so many different things that we can look at. But I'm just going to rattle off a few things. And the reason I'm doing this is because the Federal Reserve, they had their conference as far as the interest rate goes. And, Jerome Powell, he gives a speech and talks about what they talked about and what the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, what they decided in regards to the interest rate, what it would be. Did it go up? Did it go down? Did it stay the same? And give some insight in regards to the market, the economy. And so just to touch bases on some of that, and this was a couple days ago, I think it was Wednesday, the 19th, is when they had the conference. Interest rate remained the same at 4.25, between 4.25 and 4.0. So that interest rate, it makes sense that it stayed the same. Trump wanted them to come down on it, so he didn't like that, but they held it at that. Their dual mandate, what they focus in on is the unemployment rate staying at max employment. So they want a low interest rate, or not interest rate, I'm sorry, unemployment rate. And currently it's at 4.1, I believe is where it's at. So that's kind of in historic territory, and it's been there for a while, probably over the past year, I think, maybe or more. But and then also inflation. So they want to keep prices down. They want to make sure that prices are not getting out of control. So they want stable pricing. Inflation, it did go to, it's at 2.7, which is an increase from the the inflation rate. It did increase from a year ago by 2.7%. All right. And that's not bad. Okay. It's not bad. They're trying to get it down to 2. GDP, that also did increase. And then we're talking about the fourth quarter of last year at 2.3. Generally looking at that, they want that to be at 2%. I think they're projecting somewhere around 1.7 by the end of this year, but who knows? It's way too far to project anything. They said wage growth has been actually outperforming inflation, so that's good. Um, let's see. Uh, And the one thing in terms of the economy growing, um, the second half of last year, the economy did pretty good. And I believe the reason for that was that there was a lot of product that was pulled forward, and a lot of importers, when I say importers, I'm talking about US businesses, they did a lot of buying at the end of last year. The reason being was to get ahead of tariffs. You know, they didn't know what to expect coming into the new administration, what tariffs were gonna, what they were gonna do regarding tariffs. So we all know what's going on now, and it's pretty challenging in the sense that um, tariffs were on, and then we're off, and then we're on again, and then we're off again. So for businesses, it's really challenging. All right, so businesses are trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here? What does the price look like here? You know, I mean, what are we going to be spending more money, or are we not going to be spending more money on these incoming products? Um, you know, and that cost generally gets passed on to the consumer, but it will impact the trucking industry because if businesses are remaining at a standstill, then not much is moving, right? So they aren't able to make decisions. CEOs aren't able to make decisions. They can't go to their board and say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. You know, they have to they're kind of like in a holding pattern. So a lot of businesses did pull a lot of product at the second half of last year. So that more than likely, I would say, contributed to economic growth at the end of last year. One of the things that the Fed said that they're going to be watching is the new administration's policy on trade. You know, that involves tariffs, immigration, fiscal policy, and regulation. So these are things that they're going to be watching so that they can decide what they need to do, you know, when it comes to interest rates. And so these are some good things to know. You know, what I say in the meantime is this: there's two things. One, there's a lot of uncertainty. That's like the word of the day, uncertainty, right? We just don't know right now what is going on, what to expect, but we'll see what happens. And then also in the meantime, what I say is keep on trucking. You know, keep doing what you're doing in terms of trying to gain knowledge, work to develop relationships, and move that freight. Okay, so we got to keep doing that. One other thing I didn't want to mention, you know, there has been, I guess, a lot of firing, layoffs, or what have you, when it comes to the federal government with the new administration. Um, you know, job loss, a lot of times when we're talking about unemployment, it does play a factor in how the economy goes, you know, but I think that there has been it hasn't been a significant amount of job loss when it comes to these government agencies. Um, it hasn't been to a level where it really is going to have that big of an impact. But then at the same time, it does impact individuals. It does impact local markets. Okay. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I mean, government efficiency, definitely, I think it's good. You know, how we go about that, there's different ways of doing it, so I got to pick one way or the other. So we'll see how this all comes out. But in the meantime, you know, continue to stay focused, continue to stay positive, and you know, there's a lot of transportation is not going to go anywhere. So just continue to do what it is that you do, and hopefully we can provide information that's really going to be of benefit to you. Um, let's see what else. Impact flow, carry. I think that's it. Well, that's it. There's a lot more to talk about, but we're going to leave it at that. Okay. Um, and I definitely want to, encourage you. If you have any questions of me, definitely feel free to reach out to me. You can give me a call at 866-342-0040, extension 109, or you can reach me by email. Again, I'm just going to make it easy. We're going to use the support email address for now, support@fr8connect.com. If you've got any ideas in regards to, what you'd like me to talk about, I want to go live where I can actually engage with listeners. But let me know if there's any interest that you have in regards to topics. I do have some guests that would like to come on board, so I'm looking to bring them on, and so you don't have to just hear me talk all the time. And yeah, and then if you're interested in any support, especially when it comes to developing opportunities, developing shipper opportunities, training. We do offer all that. So, feel free to reach out to me, ask me any questions you'd like. Other than that, that is about it. My mouth is dry. I need some water. So, but other than that, have a great weekend, and we shall see you in another week. Take care.